Coming to you live from a tidal wave of unstable internet, welcome. While we venture into the wild and the weird, the iconic and the bionic, why is my Microsoft Word doc blocking what I wrote? The chaotic and the cacophonous. We're delving into the creative trenches and seeing what bubbles up. Hello, everybody. I am Mandy Fabian, and I am joined here by the multi-talented Pete Wright, Ryan Dalton, and Kyle Olson, or what I like to call three bards and a babe. This is Craft and Chaos. And tonight, a little more chaos as I am broadcasting from the other side of the world. It's not Turkey, but I can see it from here.
Intro music.
Right.
Oh boy, do we have a lot of fun things to talk about today. But hi, guys, and hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh,
How you doing?
just so good. Everything's great. There are no problems in the world. Everybody's health is strong.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure how we were going to do this, if we were going to...
We're just going to start lying. Yeah.
I feel like it's probably for the best. Oh my God. Sorry, I have a guest in my studio. Can you hear him clearing his throat?
Didn't hear it at all.
Oh,
Didn't
that's
hear
good.
that
That's
at all.
good.
Oh, I heard that. I heard that one.
Let's see,
But
see
that
what
was
else he
super
does.
Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, guys. It's my agent. He's very excited about this podcast. And so, but we're not here to talk about representation today. This week, we're going to talk about heroes and gods and monsters. And but first, before we jump into that, I just wanted to see what have you guys been up to in the last 2 weeks? Anybody have any exciting news? I feel a little birdie told me that maybe somebody has some exciting news. Pete, would you like to begin?
Oh, I thought we were talking about Kyle's new diet. No, I guess I do. So that
We can.
thing that I feel like you bozos, I don't know. I know that this is my headcanon, is that somehow I was dared to do this as a result of this show. And so I did it. And I am eager to say, thrilled to say that I have self-published my first work of fiction. I am now a struggling fiction author too. It is a short work of fiction. It is a novella. And so it comes in right around 115 pages or so. And it is a story that might be completely lost on people. Who knows? I don't know. I have my early readers have said they like it and that they forget that I wrote it. And that is a high compliment.
I think that is.
And by the time they reach the end of the book, they may need to keep forgetting that I wrote it. Or then they can come back and remember I wrote it when they write that 5-star review. So that's where we are. It's called Lattice. It's available on Amazon right now. And I have so many questions. It's called Lattice, a Novella by Pete D. Wright. Don't say Petey Wright, though you'll be tempted to. Thank my last publisher, Wiley, for cementing that name. And there we are. And so as the process goes on, oh my God, Ryan Dalton, I've got questions. So you and I are going to have some fun time together.
I have your print copy on the way, so I will let you know.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Me
Thank you so
too.
much. Yeah.
Wild
Very
West
excited about it.
Self-publishing.
Yeah.
How exciting.
I'll tell you,
And
having
what
done both and being able to log into my dashboard and see immediate results is intoxicating compared to the traditional publishing model, which is, we'll
Having to
reach
wait
out
for
to you
those
every 6 months, It is intoxicating. Right now it's hard to imagine not having this kind of control. So far a delightful experience, struggling fiction author Pete D. Wright.
Is it that you have now hung out your shingle and you're looking for other people to come under your benevolent wing? Like you have the...
I'm not the one with the benevolent wing yet. That's Dalton. That we're all trying to get into Dalton's nest. But I will say this: I am equally intoxicated by just the fact that I feel like I unlocked something on these past works, and I'm so excited to dig into the next one. Like I have finished projects that are ready to be deeply edited. And so I'm working hard on the next one right now, which is a full-length YA work, and I'm so excited to get some eyes on it. And hopefully by July sometime, I'll be able to sort of get that one out the door. That's kind of my timeline right now. So I'm really excited about it.
I have a craft question about that. I mean, I think self-publishing is great because I think there are a lot. It's like when you're doing stuff on stage, you have the audience that is giving you feedback on your work and it's instant, right? But with self-publishing, that's kind of another way of trying your work out, seeing what you got, seeing who responds to it and how it's doing. And I think that's just such a valuable thing. And I'm wondering, did the act of doing that, has that given you a different, like, made you hold your shoulders differently? And like, does it make you approach the rest of your work, the next thing you're working on, differently because you have self-published and now you have a book that people are buying and getting shipped to their homes in London?
I think it's too soon because I'm in that liminal space as we record this where the book is out and nobody's read it because it's in the mail. And so I'm waiting to kind of hear how it hits. My my early readers know me. Are they biased a little bit? Probably. So we'll see. But for me, like as a podcaster, as somebody who's accustomed to owning the entire flow, coming back to being able to take this thing and turn it into a book and own the entire process myself is it's very comforting. And so no matter what happens, if people end up hating it, that's fine. It's all mine. I didn't have to argue with the editorial board over cover design. I didn't have to do any of that. And did I make mistakes? Guaranteed. But they're my mistakes, and they're my responsibility to fix them. And I'm on that point, I am proud of the process and being the part that I played in it.
That's really, really cool. I think I would be overwhelmed. But,
down with gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Down with gatekeepers. I think
that's
feel
where
for
we're
the
going,
gatekeepers.
folks. Yeah.
There are a lot of jobs that of gatekeepers. The number, I mean, we talked about this. That first book, the number of editors. You guys, everybody's a different kind of editor in these publishing houses. They're all editors. Well, I don't know how much they have to edit. Not that much. And then they actually contract out for the actual line editor to do something. What are they doing in the office? So I'm actually, I feel like, down with gatekeepers is the message that I feel pretty good about until they back a truck up and say, we'd like you to write for us now. And then I'll be up with gatekeepers.
Taking my gatekeepers for martinis.
Yeah, right.
Very cool.
Well, anyway, thank you.
When they're looking for pitches for the Expanse novels, then you'll be right there ready to
I'll be right there.
Well, on the one hand, it's easy to demonize the gatekeepers. On the other hand, if you just do random searches for what books are out there self-published, you start to become a fan of gatekeepers to a certain extent.
That's true.
There a certain amount of Now, can they go overboard? Sure, but a certain, especially when you're talking about traditional pub, a certain amount of gatekeeping people want, I think, more than they realize they want.
Yeah, I totally.
I say I give it up to the small press, like the small press people who are out there putting out books that they know maybe only 100,000 people in the world will want to read, but by God, they're going to put them out. They're going to publish it. Those are the real heroes, and it's more that thought that because publishing has sort of consolidated so much that unless you get into one of the big four, you're a failure. That's what it's like. Oh yeah, well. You know, maybe like there's a lot of we're seeing some AI slop out there that people are just trying to like make $1 off of, hoping you'll not look too hard before you buy it and download it to your Kindle and go, oh wait, no human had any part of this. Those little guys is what those are my heroes.
The other side of that is, like, I've got a dear friend who has 2 fantastic books, and he wants to do it the traditional way, and nobody is reading those books. And it's been 2 years that he's been sitting on those, sending every Monday. He has a routine of sending more query letters out, and he's gotten no bites. And that's when I come back to thinking, okay, maybe the gatekeepers need to settle down a bit, and he should publish this book because the existence of gatekeepers is preventing a great book from being read. And so I don't know, Ryan. I feel like you are in both nests.
Yeah, no, so I can, I feel like I'm at a point where I can celebrate the good things about both, but also acknowledge the extreme weaknesses of both. And yeah, there are definite issues with traditional publication. Ever since it's gotten worse since COVID, because COVID took out a lot of legacy people in the industry who were just overwhelmed and burnt out, and they were the ones that had decades of experience and knowledge. And so I'll be honest, I'm not naming any specific names or anything, but the overall quality of the traditional published books that are coming out now with new authors is significantly lower than it was in decades past, because you have the gatekeepers now that are much, much less experienced. And you also have ones that grew up in the echo chamber of what publishing has become, which is, I always call it Little Hollywood. It is every bit as much of an echo chamber as Hollywood, in that it becomes where they're chasing accolades from New York and LA and completely ignoring giant swaths of readers and letting them go unserved. I saw it very acutely in children's publications, where they very clearly stopped publishing the books that kids are going to love this, and they started publishing all books that, this is going to win an award. This is going to get us
or
into
a celebrity is it, because then they get to draft off of all the fame that they already have.
Yeah, so they're chasing in children's books. They're chasing these accolades and these social points that mean nothing to child readers, and so they've moved to completely not publishing for the people that they should be publishing for. And similar things happen with adult books as well. And so, some really great books end up not getting through because it doesn't fit through that continually narrowing window of what traditional publishing is going to do. So, that's a huge problem in traditional, for sure.
I think I think for self-publishing, while certainly maybe it's a bit like, I feel like just because I'm funny at a party, that doesn't mean I'm going to be a good stand-up comic. Right? Like, there are just levels. So maybe if I do my first essay, I shouldn't, if I just blurt out 80 essays, then I shouldn't release a book of essays and be like, come on, I'm amazing, because I know more about self-publishing than I do about writing at that moment. Right. But I do think
that's why Substack exists. That's perfect for that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a great way to build your voice and your audience. I got to work on that. Anyway.
But I don't want to underscore the fact that part of it for me is just having the artifact that I did this thing. And that's where, like, I feel like I kind of need that in my life, whatever people end up thinking about it. I feel like one of the things that I maybe have learned again from you nincompoops is that the joy comes from writing for me and not targeting somebody else who is going to judge my use of language and syntax and story and made up words, right? Like, I did this for me. And the people who need to hear it and will like it will be people that I largely probably like.
Yes. And I'm facing a very similar scenario in that, writing this book for my girls, and there's really, like, definitely an audience of two, but I think it will resonate with other, teenage girls or moms who want to know what to say to their teenage girls about things, or dads. It has some broader things, but when I think about taking that to the traditional publishing route, I go, I'm not Brene Brown, and I'm not so many people that are experts on parenting or psychologists or something, but what I have to say has value, certainly for my kids, and might have value for other people. So I'm going to write it down. And I really thought about this. I was like, what am I going to do? Give them my laptop and be like, have fun. Like, I have to make a book. I want to make an actual book. And then that is the way I think that can be passed on to whoever else might enjoy it, get worth from it. But I think I'm still going to try the traditional route, but I guess I recognize so much. I don't want to be like your friend and go, well, I'm never going to have it come into the world if it's not going to come in like Glennon Doyle, Untamed, all guns blazing, summer home money. Even though we've discussed
That's the goal.
That's obviously my destiny. But no, but I think it takes a real act of bravery to do that.
Well, when people ask me like, how do you get published, which is, very more broad than a broader question often they realize. My first question back to them is, what is your goal?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to be traditionally published? Do you want to really make a go of this? Are you thinking about a career, or do you just want to write something to have in your hand for your friends to read? And based on their answer, my advice changes vastly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, okay. So that's actually a pretty good segue, the act of bravery, into the things that I wanted to discuss this week. I'm over. Am I allowed to say where I am? Like, it's okay to tell people where I am, right?
By the time this comes out, you'll be long gone. So.
Yeah, you'll be gone.
I won't be. That's right. I always have to be careful with the paparazzi so that they don't rush the Airbnb /cave I'm staying in. I've been in Greece, and it's been really interesting to witness, with ruins of buildings and stories of the legends, the myths of the nymphs and the gods, and how narrative has informed this culture and is still such a huge part of the heartbeat of it. And it's really, and of course, it's all about heroes, gods, and monsters. And so the thing that I am interested in is, like, what makes a good hero? Like, what is the thing, what is the thing that for you in either the work that you're doing, like for your protagonists, or the things that you watch, or even people in your life, like what is the thing that we look for in a character or another human that inspires us to be braver, stronger self-publishers? Like, what is the, or to do the thing that's scary, to do the thing that's risky, to face the monsters, which we'll get to those later. But that's my question for you. I really have been interested in this idea of, are you a hero? And what you're hearing my studio guest. My studio guest.
He's doing great. It sounds like he might need some albuterol or something.
Yeah,
I think we're boring him. He's like,
no. We're in the last stages of some sort of serious chest fungus. So I take him with me now into the studio because I'm worried it might be the last time I get to see him. But it's fine, you guys. This podcast is the most important thing. It is craft and coffus. Okay. Coffin chaos.
Maybe it's keeping them alive. Like, we don't know.
That's true. Anyway, sorry. Yes. Who wants to take this one first?
I could dive in.
Ryan, I see it in your eyes, buddy. Give it to me.
Yeah. So heroes. Yeah. What makes a hero come out? To me, intention is a huge part of what makes the character the hero. Why are they doing what they're doing? What is their goal? It's also why certain antagonists, if they were in a different story, could also be a hero. Since antagonists aren't necessarily villains, they just want something different than what this story's hero wants. But depending on the antagonist, they could very easily, be their own hero in another thing. Sometimes it's fun to just watch like an unstoppable hero tear through bad guys, but what's compelling is the struggle. The stories we really come back to and that we resonate to is, what do they have to overcome to attain their victory? What is the cost of victory? That's one of my favorite things to explore in all of my stuff, is like, even if you win, what was the cost of victory? So I like exploring that. A few of my favorite fictional heroes. I like Mal Reynolds from Firefly. He's very flawed. He's kinder and a more good person than he wants to admit, because he lives in a very hard world. But he always ends up doing the right thing in the end. And he usually ends up just getting ravaged along the way. So like, doing the right thing is really hard and painful, and he's going to complain about it the entire time, but he's going to do it.
But but you still end up robbed, lied to, and naked,
shot,
on the side, and then still ended by going, "That was a pretty good day."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I like switching gears to a different format. I like Drizzt Do'Urden from the Forgotten Realms
Yeah,
books.
that's a good one.
He was born into a largely evil culture, and a large part of it because of, this will tie into another thing, the god that they worship in that fictional world. And it would be so easy for him to be just like them. But he chooses a path instead that is a better path, but also puts him on a path of opposition and collision with his family, with the entire system that he was born into, and that also forces him out of that world into another world that hates and fears his kind because they have a reputation for being murderous and evil. So he has that to deal with as well. So he's sort of like a man without a country. But he chooses that more difficult path. And he's one of those good guys that is extremely competent and a very tough adversary, but he's also not perfect. And he does make mistakes. And there are things that he doesn't know that come back to bite him. And he has to learn and grow and get better. And he has to have friends that, he will work with sometimes, which those group dynamics can be super fun. So yeah, I like him a lot. My third one, this last one I'll say, I like Veronica Mars.
Yeah.
She's clever and she's mouthy and she gets by on her wits and she keeps to her own moral code despite being surrounded by corruption. But she's also, despite being very smart and very capable, she's often in danger. She has very clear vulnerabilities. And the qualities that make her a compelling hero to watch are also the same qualities that get her into a lot of trouble, which is also very fun. So her good points invite conflict and trouble, which is a lot of fun. I'll tell you what, to me, if I could give a counterpoint to myself, what to me is not a compelling hero, and I bring it up because I see this happen more and more often in especially Hollywood productions, a character whose whole journey comes down to realizing that they were perfect all along.
Yeah.
Their only problem was lesser people holding them down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is not compelling. It's lazy. It's annoying, and is often it's self-serving on the part of the writer, whom I suspect the characters are kind of a veiled self-insert for them. And that's, like I said, a huge problem in a lot of modern Hollywood productions. If your hero never grows, if they never learn, if they never have to change or stretch to be better, and if that growth doesn't inform the story and isn't necessary for success, you haven't written a person, you've written a statue. And nobody likes to watch a statue on camera. Don't do that. The end.
Well, I feel like I just got a master writing class.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Currently, the sort of the heroes or the hero type that are resonating with me are the ones who get knocked down and get back up again, like that. Not to quote Chumbawamba, but
Chumbawamba, yeah. I mean,
you're never going to keep me down.
Yeah. But
we're all thinking Chumbawamba's our hero, right?
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
As we're talking about,
down.
Greek myths and things, Spider-Man is like a bite because Spider-Man is Sisyphus.
Yeah.
No matter what he does, he can never get ahead, and he always ends up right back where he started. But by God, he's going to push that boulder up the hill again. And so there's so many things that when people find those moments, like in like Spider-Man movies and stuff too, where they can have that, where it's like, there's no way he can do this, and he is the only one who can and has to pull it. Like I think in Homecoming, where he has to lift the building off himself, which is straight from the comics, or in Andrew Garfield, where his leg is injured and like he still has to get to that building to save the city, even though he can't walk. Like all those things are the ones that are sort of that resonate with me. There's a new season of Daredevil is the same way. Daredevil is just a guy. Like he's even a blind man and has to do all of the things that all those other superheroes do with this additional thing and not letting anybody know that that's what is going on with him. So he gets the crap kicked out of him again and again, but man, he'll just like stand up and wipe the blood off his face and then like square up again. It's like those things right now are really really resonating with me. But the one that sort of that we're along these same lines, those are sort of like your quintessential superhero heroes, I think. The another type that I like that I'm sort of picking as I want is Sir Samuel Vimes from the Discworld. He's an interesting one because he is a person who never expected to be a hero, never even expected to grow up, much less grow old, and yet keeps finding himself in these situations where he has to be the one to do the job. He was a rough kid from the streets and got into all sorts of awful things, and then got taken in by essentially with the Discworld version of a police officer, and then sort of set him on that path. And so he is a cop, but he thinks like a criminal, and so he has this sense of he doesn't judge people, he doesn't do it, and he's just the one who's going to be well, there's nobody else, and so he's going to roll up his sleeves and do it. He's going to have a cigar in his mouth and a really annoyed expression, but he's going to do the right thing, whether he's going to have to bring down an entire country or arrest a king or stop a war. He's going to be the one to do it. And so he just shrugs his shoulders, straps on his breastplate and goes in. He's not the strongest, not the smartest, but by God, he's the meanest. And sometimes that's what it takes. And so that's right now, that's kind of hero I'm looking at.
All of these they're so interesting, and I think it just makes me reflect on what I look at in a hero is the shape of their struggle, right? And I think you talk about Spider-Man, you talk about Daredevil, you talk about all these characters who on the surface have all of the skills that you'd think would be required to be successful in their chosen field, fighting crime, whatever it is. And yet the shape of their wound is such that they just can't get ahead. And I'm really curious about that they are everything you imagine they should be, and they still sometimes lose in the end, and badly. I feel like it makes me wonder about my own obsession with heroes. What does that say about me? What does it say about us as people that we're obsessed with heroes?
They look great in tights. I mean,
they
I
do
get
look
it.
great in tights. And I'll tell you who's a hero who looks good in a good seersucker is that Atticus Finch. Now, Atticus Finch did all the right thing. And I acknowledge Atticus Finch is a complicated character, and later texts have complicated him even further. But when I was introduced to Atticus Finch, he was a guy who did the right thing beautifully, and it didn't fix anything, right? And that is, to me, an incredibly honest kind of heroism. And, map Atticus Finch against Samwise Gamgee, for crying out loud, right? Here is the hero who just never thought of himself as a hero, and he just stood up and did the right thing in spite of his own shortcomings. You see what I did there? Hobbits are short. That is, I think, a really pure kind of approach to what it means to be a hero. And I think the best heroes, or the best written heroes, are the heroes who have a certain set of skills and are still battling their own brokenness. And we criticize Superman all the time because Superman is a character who, when written casually, is a guy who has no brokenness. But when written well, Superman can be broken in the most diabolical ways. And that's interesting. That's when he becomes an excuse for me to outsource my own courage, right? My own image of myself into this other body and make it a playground. So I think that's one of the reasons that I'm super obsessed with how heroes are portrayed. Before you make the next point, there was a post on Tumblr that I read that basically someone said, if you put Macbeth in Hamlet's story, he'd have it all wrapped up in an hour. Yeah.
And
right.
And vice versa.
Real type A energy. Yeah.
Right. But either one, it's the whole thing that they're trapped in the wrong story. And that's sort of where the drama comes from. And so if you switch it around, it's built to be resistant to it, but with a different person, it would be a completely different story. And that's what makes it interesting.
That's really interesting. I think I really love what you guys are saying. And one of the things that really resonated for me, what you said, Ryan, about a hero overcoming these great odds, right? I lately anymore, just with the world being what it is, I'm finding these greater and greater thrills at the people who, the characters who are they have problems, obstacles that feel as big as the obstacles feel in my life sometimes. You know, like that they're able to face these things, and they summon this. They usually come out on top, they're always being knocked back. I'm not articulating this well, but it's what I mean to say is it inspires me to figure out how I can be a hero, in what ways in my life I could do better, or try harder, or not shrink back, or stand up bravely. Like, and I don't think this was a thing my whole life. I was actually like, it wasn't until I saw Captain America, the very first one, that I was like, oh, now that's a hero to me, because I wasn't a fighter, right? And honestly, with some of the more Sisyphean tales, I was like, I mean, guys, you're just getting knocked back. Like, what am I? I'm just watching the same thing over and over again. And now I appreciate that so much more. But Captain America to me was this thing where it woke everything up in me, because I was like, oh, he's good. He's just good. Yeah. And yeah, he also is giant and muscly because he got the super soldier serum and everything. But to me, I loved.
He was a good man.
That
he was good before.
Yeah.
That moral center was something that I, as a human being, could look at and go, that's my hero. And the fact that they wrote, you know, the ones I enjoyed the most were that was the heartbeat of the story, that like, and I was so glad that the guy with the goodness inside of him had the muscle and the unwavering commitment to overcome evil. Because I do think that's the thing that a hero means to me, is someone who I can either be or stand behind and try to support or emulate in any way I can to fight evil, right? This idea of it, you know, something that we can all stand up against.
I think I think it's a great example, and we've talked about that a bunch over on Marvel Movie Minute years ago as we covered that movie. But the fact that they so perfectly capture the essence of Captain America and Steve Rogers in that one line, like he's not really about good or evil. He just doesn't like bullies.
Yeah.
And we can all relate to that.
Yes. A good human, like a good, a good heart, that means something. Right. And then I really like heroes that are just, even in the tiniest little, there's no fighting or big obstacles. I also really like the heroes that overcome the internal obstacles, like the character that, kind of like what you were saying, Pete, about that the ones that have to fight their own wound or make a change in their life, even if it's like talk to the girl. You know, I was telling my kids the story of Lars and the Real Girl.
Yeah.
You know, and he just becomes brave enough to introduce his blow up doll girlfriend to his community. Right. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, but it's like this fantastic story. Like, it's the smallest act of bravery where anybody would look at that hero and go, I wouldn't call him a hero, but I would, because he has to make that change in his life. And I think that's also reflective of the hero's journey.
Totally.
That makes me, sorry, go ahead. That just makes me think a bit about, at the end of Return of the King, if you look at what Frodo is writing, there's a scene where you see him writing in the journal. And the last thing he's writing, he's talking about, this is after they've gone and done all of that stuff. And then he talks about how Samwise asked Rosie Cotton on a date. And then he says, it's the bravest thing he ever did.
Awesome.
I love that. Okay, well, should we maybe, I don't know, do we have any sponsors this week? Is there
I believe we do.
Great toss.
That would be exciting.
The world today seems absolutely crackers. One day you're a weasel overcome with guilt. The next you get a parking violation and a maggot on your sleeve. Your thoughts arrive like butterflies. Who am us anyway? A mulatto, an albino, a mosquito, my libido. Time to zip your lips like a padlock. That's why today's Hornswoggle is brought to you by Gibberish. Gibberish, because meaning is for hats.
Did I catch some Beck lyrics in there? I'm pretty sure I caught some Beck lyrics.
Make a lot of sense in a weird world.
That has to be a hat in our merch store. Meaning is for hats.
Meaning is for
Is
hats.
for
You're
hats.
absolutely God. I must write that down.
Oh God. Oh God. Hey. What a great segue, you guys. Thank you for your thoughts on the heroes. But next, I would like to talk about the element of God. Now, okay, I don't mean like, like where did you go to church for Easter? But I'm noticing that there's a lot of these really fun, crazy stories about gods in Greek mythology that are so much more interesting than any god I was ever introduced to as a kid. And I'm just curious about this idea of, from any god that you would have in your, like the divine forces in your storytelling, whether you channel them, you channel your stories from someplace, or whether you worship at the altar of some rock god or a particular type of food, or what would be how gods or the idea of gods work into your storytelling, or your favorite representation of God in storytelling? Because I'm constantly diving into like supernatural, like magical realism in my stuff. It just inevitably happens. Because I'm fascinated with it. I mean, I admitted about the eclipse spell that I did. I do still have eclipse water in my pantry. So
good.
this idea of
I'm very religious about my dice, so I get it.
Yeah.
There you go. And I think that humans kind of crave this idea of something beyond us working its forces that's not like a hero in a cape or whatever. So I'm curious about if any of you dabble in that.
Well, I don't know about dabble.
Or your
when I think
favorite
about
examples
gods,
of it. Yeah.
Well, so when I think about gods, I think they plural are the places where our feeble human brains put things that we cannot control or explain, right? A god becomes a container for awe and terror and meaning, and we can call it the muse or the algorithm or the work, whatever you want to call it. Like there's a thing there. And when we go meta, and as you were talking about, we talk about the function of gods. Like, do we really worship Zeus, or do we worship certainty and chaos, right? The Greeks in particular gave every big messy force a face and a name.
It's
because
fantastic. Yes.
Yeah. Because unnamed dread is worse than personified dread, right?
Yes. And there's someone to talk to about the stuff that's bothering you. You're like, I need wins for my sales.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
And
a
so
whole would be something, but this is nothing. Yeah.
Exactly. And so we build our own pantheons, and inspiration is a god, and procrastination is a god, and the inner critic is sure as hell a god, and we keep showing up. So that's what I think about. And this is particularly, have I mentioned I just released my self-published my novella, Lattice?
What?
One of the things that I think a lot about is the sort of modernization of the sort of chaos deity, right, that is embodied in the forces of capitalism, right, and the systems that we create that are bigger and more powerful than anything we could individually break down. And that has become for me something to really think of it. That Greek model is really brilliant because gods can be petty and jealous and horny, and I think we have created systems that are petty and jealous and just horrible to the people who created them and worship them. And so that's a lot of kind of what I'm thinking about right now as I'm writing and podcasting, and what hath we wrought in the language of religion? We hath wrought chaos at the very top, and we still have a very complicated relationship with our worship to it. So I will say, you asked me to pick a god, and I picked Loki because not necessarily because of chaos, but because I feel like Loki ultimately is the god of the necessary disruption. Nothing moves until something breaks. And I think every creative project probably has a Loki moment where things go sideways, and
Oh, yeah.
that's when it gets good.
So,
And
and the Norse gods, the only ones that built in their own expiration date, which I find fascinating as well.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
Kyle,
That's
I caught that never-ending story reference.
Oh,
by the way.
nice.
Yeah.
really good.
Nice little drop there.
If your favorite
so-
god isn't from the Never-Ending Story now, that's going to be problematic for all of us.
So I find every time I try and do something along those lines, in story-wise or whatever, I come across it, I end up going in the same place. I'm like, oh, this is the fantastic. No one's thought of this. And I go, nope, that's just American Gods by Neil Gaiman again. I'm not, and I know he's persona non grata right now, so I'm not going to spend any time talking about it. But like, that book is so good in terms of taking all these incredible ideas about gods and worship and America and stuff and putting them all into one thing. And it made a pretty good first season of a television show and a not so great second season. But moving on from there, what I'm interested in when you sort of had brought up this idea of a topic is the stories that we continually retell. Like, there are things we come back to. You know, how many Loki stories have there been? Like, you know, it's like there's not in a negative way. It's sort of like what we come back to and why. And so the story that I find interesting and that the storyteller for this one incorporate that into is Hadestown. So in Hadestown, when you're sitting and watching it, the performers up front are saying, "This is like the first thing is this is an old song, and we're going to sing it again." And so they go through the entire show of talking about Orpheus and Eurydice and Hades and Persephone and like telling the story, but in this very 1940s sort of like band style. And it's this love story with a tragic ending. And you know that because it was written long before our country existed. I mean, like, you know, thousands of years ago, people have been telling the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. And so they do it, and then they get to the end, and there's that thing, and by God, you're caught up in it again. Like like every time he turns around, every time, and every time you go, oh, like once he get through, but he never does. And then the musical ends by saying, "It's an old song, and we're going to sing it again," and they reset the stage because they're going to tell the story again. And I just love that. And it's just this beautiful thing of like, yeah, this is an important story and you need to hear it, and we're going to tell it again.
My favorite Greek god is a lesser known deity of getting up again, Chumbawambicus.
Any other drinks that he likes?
Yeah, but I don't want to quote them because we may have to pay them a royalty.
Sure,
if I
sure.
start quoting them, please.
Thank you.
I don't tend to address much that's like divine or celestial in my work, but I do enjoy it in other works. In fiction, I've shouted these guys out before. I enjoy how Critical Role their take on a D&D world, particularly
that was my second thought too.
Yeah, particularly the way that Matt Mercer designed his worlds and portrays that pantheon of gods in a D&D based RPG. Yeah. For one, there's enough of them that they aren't a monolith. You get all sorts of flavors and all sorts of different kinds of powerful beings with all sorts of personalities and flavors of how they interact with mortals, and then how their power affects the world and the people in it. And there's echoes of that and consequences. And you have extremely rare events of mortals figuring out how to kill a god, or even how to ascend to the level of godhood. Mm-hmm. And the longer the game goes on and you follow the characters, the more that world gets fleshed out, including that pantheon of gods. And with all those different kinds of powers and agendas flying around, it becomes very compelling to watch. Mm-hmm. And also to think about, oh man, what kind of character would I like to play in this world that they've created, in this sandbox that they've created that has all possible levels of power and existence. So I just find that really fun to watch and engage with.
I want to do just a momentary aside on Critical Role before we move off it too, because chances are majority of our listeners and the rest of the panel even too are not going to watch like 400 hours of Critical Role, and that's a conservative estimate of how much there is. But Matt Mercer is the guy who created the whole thing, and this is his world, like his fantasy world that he built out. And so like this from when he was young, he like had started building it. And so now other people get to play in this role. So he brought in another DM to do sort of a prequel story of like when the gods were still around. It's like, so that most of the stuff takes place sort of after they've all sort of fallen. And so Brendan Lee Mulligan came in and did the story. and Matt got to play, which he hadn't gotten to do for a long time. And so he was playing a dwarf, and but what he didn't know is that at the end of that story, which was the end of this sort of prequel gods thing, is that Brennan had set it up so that his character became the shaper of the world. Like, he essentially, there was a god that had built the world, and he made it so that Matt's character ascended and was the shaper of the world. And there's a great clip online when Matt realizes what Brennan is doing, and that has basically said, "This is your."
It literally moves him to tears.
Yeah,
when it happens.
Literally
Yeah,
crying because he realizes what he done. Basically saying, like, we're all here because of you, because of your imagination, because of what you built.
And an old friend comes back to him
Yeah.
and says, basically, it's time to become what you were before and remember who you were.
Yeah.
And it was a really beautiful moment. And seeing that turn on the guy who created the world in the first place, like that whole game world, was super compelling.
Yeah. It was just,
Wow.
It's a beautiful moment, just between friends, and also as like from creator to creator, and just like, fan to, it was pretty incredible.
Oh my God, I love it.
That's really beautiful. You got? Can you dig up that clip? I'm sitting here searching for it. I can't find that specific clip.
I'll find it.
Now I want to watch it.
Yeah.
And because that addresses the fact that Critical Role, that the web show that they do was around a long time before they started filming it, right? That fills in those holes.
Kind of. There was like the full incarnation of like these particular people had never been together until the very first game that they live streamed it. Like, there had been other things. He had like home games with different groups of people, but like what we know as the sort of the principal ones started out like on Felicia Day's original channel, Geek and Sundry, when everyone had their own sort of imprint. He also has joined the ranks of the authors as well. She has a new book out now too.
Yep.
That she's around going.
Well, and I would add, just as a plug, our dear friend of the show, Mandy Kaplan on Make Me a Nerd, has just done an episode on Critical Role and Vox Machina, and knows Sam Riegel, and Sam sent voice notes to answer questions that are in the show. So if you are so interested, I'll put a link to that in the show notes. It's a great episode. So.
Oh, very cool. I'm a little bit out of the. My answer may not be as cool, but it is. My favorite representation of God in anything was "Oh God." Did you guys ever see that?
Oh
movie?
yes,
oh yeah,
right, with John Denver.
Oh God, book 2,
and
Oh God, you devil,
George Burns.
Oh God, you devil, George Burns.
The first one, the original one was just. I actually at one point in my life, because I love playing around with gods in storytelling, and that's what I think. I mean, I think of my storytelling heroes as gods, because it's like, if you believe all the stories, it's the original world builder, right?
Yeah,
was the Almighty. But that's I wanted to remake that so badly, and and then I went back to watch it because I was like this, and I was like, it's perfect. It's a perfect movie. You can't make this any better than it is.
Yeah.
Should we?
Along those same lines, there's and to close us out of this thing, there's one of the best like definitions of like good and evil was in a movie called Bedazzled, which was Peter Cook and Dudley Moore. There's
oh my
Peter
God,
Cook
man,
plays the devil, like literally, like he's supposed to be the devil, and he's basically giving wishes to Dudley Moore's character, all like to try and get him, to like, tell me whatever you want and I'll give it to you, that sort of thing. And so at one point they're just sort of stopped, and Dudley Moore asked him, like, how did this happen? Like, how did the fall, like, how did this all happen? He's like, okay, let me explain it to you. And there's this scene, he's like, okay, I'm going to sit on top of this, like it's a post box. I'll be God, and you wander around me and tell me how great I am. And so, like, okay, so he just sits up there and he goes, "You're great, you're fantastic, you're wonderful." Like, he's like, "Yes, I know, yes, thank you." And then finally, Dudley gets tired. He's like, "Oh man, this is really tiring. Can I sit up there for a while?" And he's like, "That's what I said."
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, I was always the Faustian story. So I think I heard the first Faustian story when I was in 4th grade, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's possible? You can make a deal with the devil and get anything?" And ever since then, I've been like, I kind of wish that was a little bit true. Like, I think I've been looking for deals with the devil my whole life, I think
I
that's
would
what
meet
my
at an
whole,
intersection in the desert. Yeah.
I think my whole journey in the entertainment business has been a deal with the devil. Like,
I read an interesting, and it's just
That's
something
really
someone
funny.
posted online, but it cracked me up. They were talking about how, I guess someone had asked them, why do they are these like the big eldritch horror monsters? Why are they written to be so the way they are, and they're so impersonal? Like even being in their presence, like can drive you mad. And there was someone who responded and said, "Well, that's what we are to insects. You will kill an insect literally for existing near you."
Yeah.
You don't need a reason, and they'll never understand that reason. That's in these stories. That's what Cthulhu is to humans.
Yes.
I thought that was a hilarious way to illustrate it.
That's great. Do we have another? Let's go to a sponsor, maybe.
Hi there. We haven't met. I'm the drafts folder of your old friend's messages. I wanted to let you know that she did write a reply to you. Only she forgot to hit send. It's been sitting here with me for, I don't want to say how long. You're not being ignored or left on read. She honestly thinks she pressed the button. In this case, it is her and not you. She's thinking about you too. I'll hang on to this for now, but feel free to reach out to her again. But please, don't forget to hit send.
Oh my God.
Nice.
Is
Wise
that the
words.
next hat? Don't forget
It's all-
to hit send.
That's almost a PSA level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're being helpful
Yeah.
today.
I'm not even
beautiful.
getting to audition for a lot of these spots. It's like really, there's such good. I got to call my agent because this is really.
Yeah.
I need to start drumming
Got to make your own work.
some
Yeah.
new business. Yeah. Well, I know we've been chatting for a while, but lastly, I wanted you guys to help me uncover a mystery. Okay, look, I think it's no secret. I have a hard time with horror movies because I don't like being scared. I'm plenty scared in my life. I feel like every day requires bravery. And so to sit and watch something that scares the crap out of me makes me feel, but specifically with like monsters. Okay. Like there's always some, not always, but like the Freddy Kruegers of the world, or I cannot think of another monster right at the moment, but or the monsters in Stranger Things. What's that?
Sure.
Yeah.
But what is the fascination with being frightened? And I mean, I'm understanding with all of our talk about the heroes and gods, the monsters play a natural, you need the antagonist, but like, there are some, like, I actually did like Vecna from Stranger Things. I will say that because Vecna was based on a person, or, came from a person who actually had an origin story of like just being a scared kid trying to do the right thing. Again, there's a moral center to any character, whether they're a hero or monster. I'm for them in some way. And I think a lot of them do. But what are your favorite monsters, and why do people love being scared so much?
It's a good question.
Is it
Who's up?
good? Because I always feel like
Yeah.
an outlier. Like I'm the only one who's like, oh, I get really tense. It just makes me really. But I don't watch reality TV either. So
I think there's something about experiencing a little bit of fear when you know rationally that you're safe can be fun. So I think that may be why some people engage with it.
You don't engage with it either?
No, some. I wouldn't say like I'm not a horror movie guy, mostly because I just don't like gore. But a good suspenseful, like scary movie, I'm down for that kind of thing. I guess I take a little more of a less is more type approach to it, but that's how I write. So that kind of explains probably why I engage with it. So I thought of two. For one, I mean, there's a reason Jaws is a classic. You hardly see the monster, so your imagination does most of the work. It plays on a classic elemental fear, and there's a level of plausibility to what's happening, so you have less suspension of disbelief. So it's not impossible for that to happen. So I think that also hits closer to home when you're watching it.
I do like those particular kinds of stories as well, because it's not that like Freddy Krueger wants to play with you or have fun or whatever too. Like the shark don't care. That's what.
Yeah.
right.
Like it's basically like you're like, there's something that I find really chilling about that. About like, it doesn't hate you. It doesn't have any feelings about you at all. You're just food. And that's
Mhm.
I mean that's the same thing with like Alien and that like Predator, like he's coming for you and like he's going to do bad things. But like the alien doesn't care who you are versus anybody else. Like there's something about that inhumanity where it's just like that like kind of force of nature thing that I find chilling.
Well, similar to the original Terminator, who
Yeah.
was sort of similar.
Yeah.
He doesn't personally hate Sarah Connor. He was told to go kill her.
Yeah.
And so that's what he's going to do. And he will not. Well, it's the whole that famous speech that Kyle gives. He doesn't feel remorse or pity. You can't bargain with him. He won't stop until you're dead. That's it. And yeah, so that's that also. I mean, you wouldn't really classify that as a horror movie, but that had some scary moments for sure. The other one I picked, I think, is a little against type, but bear with me. I picked the Joker in The Dark Knight because he's more of an elemental force than a person. So I think that kind of qualifies him as a monster. And I like that he plays on two levels. He doesn't just create chaos, he also creates doubt. He uses a twisted kind of logic to make the argument, hey, everything that's happening is not because of me. It's because of him. So he's literally doing all of this stuff and saying, no, it's your fault. And turning it on him. So he attacks the psychological as much or more than he attacks the physical. And so to me, that qualifies him as a monster that fits in this pantheon.
Yeah. And what I think about that particular version of it is that he's lying to everyone, including us. Like he's such a good liar in that movie that people who have seen that movie, you sort of break it down, they go, oh, but no, he said, like, I don't make plans. I'm like a dog chasing cars. I'm like, he's lying. Like,
yeah, he's lying. All he did was plan.
Yeah. I feel like the monsters for me, and I didn't watch monster movies for many years, and now I've kind of insinuated myself back into horror. And
you're saying you've done a lot of sitting in the dark?
I really love it. And it's a lot of it is as a result of Kyle's idea, which he then abandoned, which is the podcast Sitting in the Dark, where we actually are conditioning ourselves to watch these things. And Kyle just said, I'd changed my mind.
It's too dark. Too much dark.
I feel like what I have found in terms of monsters, like they're the externalization of internal dread. That's what these horror monsters are. Every great monster is a mirror, and the scariest ones are the ones that are showing me stuff I don't want to see about myself, right? For me, I can handle just about any level of gore. I can handle monsters. I can handle all of that. But as soon as you get into home invasion, that challenges me at a level that is, I find, unpredictable, right? Because I have a certain expectation of my home, and I have told myself the lie that it is impermeable once I lock that little, $17 lock on the door. And there are movies, one of them that sticks out to me that was just awful that we watched for the show, which was Kidnapped. And Kidnapped is rough. It's a Spanish movie, and it's these people that want to come in the house, they literally just walk their way through the plate glass window. Like they just walk in, and there is no sense of it's not a thriller. They don't sneak up on the house. They just want in the house, so they go in the house through the easiest way. And that kind of stuff freaks me right out, right? And I don't know what it is that it's saying about me yet, but those real life monsters, the monsters that I feel like I could be walking down the street and I could look someone in the eye, my first thought is, would they walk through the plate glass window in my house? Right? What's in their heads right now? When you're just sort of confronting real human beings, the dark part you can't see through their surface personality, that's a monster. That is the worst kind of sort of modern interpretation of monster. Monsters throughout history have given form to formless fear, and this is the form of anxiety that permeates my personality at a pretty foundational level, right? Because I deal with it when I'm not watching these movies. That's about the only kind of movie that does that for me. I guess the Patrick Batemans of monster characters.
That reminds me, Pete, there was a real life serial killer that I heard about. I'm forgetting who it was, what their name was, but one of his things was he would just walk up to a house and try the front door.
Yeah.
If it was locked, he, in his mind, took it as I'm not invited, and he would turn around and leave. If it was unlocked, in his mind, oh, I'm invited, and he would go in and kill anyone in the house.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my
See?
God. Oh,
That's it.
no.
That's it.
Oh,
Boy, at least he had rules.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
Yeah.
that's the last time Pete ever left
yeah.
the house.
That's right.
Or you're going to go buy a $27 lock. I think is
$27
more.
lock. Yeah.
And speaking of rules, one of the things that I really like are vampire stories. So the idea that there is a evil thing out there, but it has rules of things it can and can't do, or the way it can't do it, and there are weaknesses and things. But for me, the sort of when Anne Rice did her twist on vampires, that was when sort of like everything changed from there on out, because going back to what we're talking about, to take a person and stop them. So like whatever they were hoping and dreaming and feeling right there, that's where they stop. But their life goes on forever, and they're stuck in wherever they were at that point. And the longer they live, the less human they get, and the more they're just acting out what they remember of being human. Monsters we are, less monsters we become. That is so interesting to me. And if you have not watched, if you're a vampire fan and you've not watched the Interview with the Vampire series that's currently on AMC, I think it's now morphed into The Vampire Lestat. Highly recommend it, because they really get into that part of it. Of you get to see over the course of these episodes, watching you meet these people as they're human and vibrant and stuff too, and then watch what they become when they're given all of this, but they don't realize how much has been taken away from them. That stuff is interesting to me, because you're talking to something that doesn't regard you as being the same race, whatever, like the same even species as it. Like it is the apex predator, and it's just pretending to be human. Yeah, that stuff's chilling.
It's really scary. I think, I think for me, I really always feel better when I have conquered a monster, right? Like,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think the one value of it is, like, I hate that there are monsters that exist perhaps in our real world and also in the movies. I have that same experience, like that suspension of disbelief. Sometimes it's actually, I get so into it that I feel as traumatized as I would if somebody was actually, banging down the door or breaking into my home or whatever. And I often wonder that, I'm like, why am I, putting myself through this? But I do find that, well, the natural response to a monster then is, what does it mean to be a hero? Right? If there is that, right? What are we, how could I defeat? How can I innovate? Because if you relent, if you succumb to the monsters, it's over. You cannot succumb to the monsters. You must prevail. And if there were no monsters, maybe we wouldn't be adjusting and innovating and evolving to prevail. I'm relentlessly optimistic, but I think I'm optimistic to a fault in that I don't engage with monsters. And I think there's something really noble when you do. Like, actually, I mean, there was one time when I was having that really severe writer's block, to bring it back a little bit to craft, that part of the craft. I actually took the things in my head, the thoughts that were stopping me from, like, oh, no one's ever going to see this, or, oh, well, I couldn't last time, so I'm not going to, oh, this is boring, and it's not, whatever it was that was stopping me from doing the next thing. And I named them and I drew them as monsters.
Yeah.
Like, personified them.
Nice.
And I put them up on the wall, and I was like, all right, now my writer's room is the Monsters Lounge. And we will be having conversations. I had to sort of like pull them out from under the bed and invite them out from the closet and like get them out, because ultimately I think that's maybe the satisfaction I'm getting through this conversation that people must have, is like, you're facing something, but in order to face it, really, you must acknowledge that you can prevail in your own way over it.
Yes.
That's the strong mythological concept of learning its name. That's Rumpelstiltskin. Like that's finding the name gives you the power over it.
And those things that scare you and bring you pain, ultimately, because the way the brain is balanced, they bring you pleasure as
That's
well.
it.
Overcoming
Unnamed
those
dread
things.
is worse than personified dread.
Well, this
Perfect.
was a fantastic conversation on all of the myths with this myth. I appreciate you giving me your time and energy. And thank you all for listening and watching to Craft and Chaos. You can comment and ask us questions and say hello at craftandchaos.fun. Yes. And stay strong, be good, talk to all of your mythical creatures. May you summon.
That's right. May the gods treat you kindly.
May the gods look kindly upon you, and we'll see
And may
you.
the muses visit you on a regular basis.
Oh, yes.
muses,
And the
good.
nymphs, too. I hope you have a couple
Mhm.
nymphs
Oh, yes.
in your yard. And
I
don't
really
call
hope
the
your
cops
home
on
isn't
them.
invaded.
Yeah.
Most of
Are
all.
we just doing generalized wishes?
And watch out for
No.
snakes.
And watch out for snakes.
Classic.
Don't step on a rake.
Here you go.
And eat your cake.
Go make weird art.